And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird.
After the recent viewership collapse and lack of interest in the WNBA, Sue Bird has brought up Caitlin Clark again.
This is what we want. Instead, we're still getting bullshit on viewership numbers.
Since Steven had supported Caitlin Clark throughout the season and wasn't going to stop now, things got really heated between the two, and Step A wasn't going to sit there and watch her get hated on.
What do you mean ESPN? So because I work at my day job on ESPN, I'm supposed to ignore the facts?
Sue Bird did not like Steven pointing out the realities, which are that there is a decline in viewership and that no one is particularly interested in watching the WNBA finals.
I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product that ESPN
that they invest in?
Yeah, that's where these viewership numbers are coming. Yeah, it's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions. But that's where I don't understand the framing.
Even though Steven is employed by ESPN, he still expresses his candid thoughts on current events. The WNBA has been having trouble maintaining the same numbers without Caitlin, who is a tremendous draw. Sue Bird thinks that although if stadiums are still packed and masses are still coming out to watch, fans are still doing so because ticket prices have drastically decreased.
See tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10.
$10 for a playoff game ticket is absurd. But do we really believe that the WNBA would be charging the same price for tickets if Caitlin were playing? Obviously not.
Shannon Sharp starts to talk about the attendance and says, like, basically that Caitlin had the highest attendance in the playoffs, which Caitlin Clark played her first 2 rounds in Connecticut, which only holds roughly 10,000, and they got swept, so they never made it back to Cambridge in Indiana to play a home game. So they absolutely did not have the highest attendance.
A WNBA legend and one of the most well-respected personalities in women's basketball, Sue Bird, was recently embroiled in an unexpected and intense controversy. It started when Bird allegedly blamed Caitlin Clark for the recent decline in WNBA playoff ratings and ticket sales. Many were taken aback by Bird's remarks because Clark's influence on the sport has been generally commended for garnering enormous attention.
There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball ratings. Kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport in viewership.
Longtime supporter of the WNBA's expansion and resiliency, Bird believed that Smith's comments unfairly disparaged the league, undermining the players' combined efforts and the league's growth over the years. Bird was quick to counter this narrative, determined to preserve the WNBA's reputation and declare that it could thrive. Beyond the influence of a single player, Sue Bird's annoyance wasn't limited to Steven. She also attacked Shannon Sharp, who had similarly emphasized the enormous amount of attention Caitlin Clark had brought to women's basketball. Both Smith and Sharp had been outspoken in their praise of Clark, citing her as a major factor in the increase in interest and viewership in the sport. However, for Bird, this emphasis on Clark felt like it was undermining the WNBA's larger initiatives. Bird, a long-standing supporter of women's basketball, was determined that the league's expansion shouldn't be dependent on any one player and that teamwork, not just star power, would be the key to its success.
With Stephen A. and with Shannon, there's an aspect of them like defending their stances on her. Like, we were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there because nobody ever said that Caitlin wasn't going to be a marketing gem, a unicorn.
However, it is difficult to overlook the situation's truth. Unprecedented attention was drawn to Caitlin Clark's outstanding college basketball performances, and many people believed that this momentum would carry over to the WNBA playoffs, sans Clark. The WNBA had a big problem: how to keep up the enthusiasm and fan interaction she had created. The league was immediately in a tight place, trying to figure out how to cover for her departure and keep the same level of interest.
But if you guys take a look at the stands, all the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty.
One way the WNBA dealt with the drop in interest was by lowering ticket prices for playoff games. Fans soon realized that without Caitlin Clark, ticket prices had dropped significantly, which was a clear indication that the league was trying to fill seats. On the surface, it seemed like the WNBA was successfully selling out games and maintaining strong attendance, but the reality was more complicated. The decision to lower ticket prices was a deliberate strategy to avoid the embarrassment of empty arenas during important matchups, which created the illusion of high demand, but didn't reflect the true level of fan interest. By lowering prices, the league was able to keep stadiums fuller, but it concealed the underlying problem that, in Clark's absence, the enthusiasm and attention simply weren't the same.
We've been to the Liberty Games. They're full. It looks full in Vegas. It looks full every single place that you go. TD Garden sold out when Caitlin wasn't playing there for a regular season.
It's very possible that the arenas would have been far less packed if the WNBA had maintained ticket prices at the same level as during Caitlin Clark's season. The WNBA has struggled to generate the same level of interest from fans without the buzz and excitement that Clark consistently brought to the game. The league was successful in filling seats and maintaining the appearance of a robust attendance, but this tactic only worked in the short term. Sue Bird was one of the first to recognize Caitlin Clark's enormous potential to transform women's basketball when she first came on the scene, so her recent remarks are all the more shocking given her early support of Clark's influence on the sport. This shift in perspective implies that Bird is more focused on preserving the league's long-term reputation.
Nonsense about things that Caitlin was doing wrong when, in my personal opinion, she was doing nothing but going out there and playing great basketball every night and ignoring the hate that was coming to her from all sides, not only from fans.
It's now evident that Caitlin Clark's capacity to garner a great deal of attention for women's basketball has made her both a hero and, in some circles, a target. This is a typical occurrence in sports, where athletes who become extremely popular frequently encounter criticism from rivals as well as occasionally from members of their own industry. For every fan who rejoices in Clark's quick ascent, some people believe that her success represents a challenge to the status quo. Another WNBA legend, Cheryl Swoops, has also voiced conflicting opinions regarding Clark's influence.
Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely.
Without players like Caitlin Clark, the league finds it difficult to sustain the same level of fan engagement and enthusiasm. She draws in not only diehard basketball fans, but also casual viewers, capturing a wider audience that the league has long sought. However, once she leaves the spotlight, the WNBA has had to face the reality that maintaining widespread interest becomes a much steeper uphill battle. While the WNBA has made significant strides in recent years, growing its fan base and visibility, it still faces significant obstacles in attracting widespread attention and consistent support, a unique phenomenon. Caitlin Clark's skill and charisma elevated the sport and attracted people who might not have otherwise followed women's basketball.
Made people stick around and want to watch the others. A rising tide lifts all boats, which is what we were saying, both Shannon Sharpe and myself, when we addressed that issue. Why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts? That ain't what we do.
Her ability to captivate casual fans created a wave of interest that the league has found difficult to duplicate. Now that she is gone, the WNBA is struggling to keep up the momentum as it works to fill the void left by her star power and sustain the excitement Clark created. As her star continues to rise, Caitlin Clark has stayed focused on her game and consistently performed at an elite level despite the increasing noise and attention surrounding her. It's getting harder to ignore the growing number of detractors for a variety of reasons, such as jealousy or insecurity. Some people will always push back against an athlete who seems to have it all.
See, WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlin is out. And is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes. It's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw.
Yeah.
She brings in all the things. We know this, we've said it.
Clark has faced her share of detractors and haters despite the tremendously good influence she has had on the sport. What's particularly frustrating about this situation is that the criticism directed at Caitlin Clark doesn't seem to be based on anything she's actually done wrong. Rather, her incredible popularity has drawn more attention to women's basketball and helped elevate the entire WNBA. These critics frequently seem more interested in discrediting her success than in acknowledging the attention and excitement she has brought to the sport. Nevertheless, Clark has managed to stay focused on her performance, navigating the pressure and criticism with grace as she continues to elevate her game and the sport overall. In addition to attracting new followers, Clark's outstanding feats and captivating personality have generated new discussions on the sport's future. However, instead of getting universal acclaim for his achievements, certain people have viewed Clark with suspicion and, in certain situations, downright hate. Clark has done nothing but excel and promote the game, giving it the attention the league has long desired, so any criticism seems unwarranted.
And to imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlin Clark had on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
This trend of disparaging accomplished female athletes is not new, but it is especially disheartening when considering women's basketball, a sport that is still vying for respect and mainstream acceptance. Caitlin Clark has the potential to revolutionize the game, much like Michael Jordan or LeBron James did for the NBA, drawing fans and elevating the sport to new heights. However, instead of uniting around her and leveraging the momentum she brings, some in the WNBA seem reluctant to fully embrace what Clark represents. This reluctance to support her stardom speaks to deeper insecurities within the sport, where groundbreaking success is occasionally met with resistance. For Sue Bird, the tension is evident. On one hand, Bird has always been an advocate for the WNBA's success and wants the league to flourish whether Caitlin Clark is a part of it. Bird knows that the WNBA must be seen as strong and vibrant in order for the league to be sustainable over the long run. However, it's hard to deny that Clark's ability to draw viewers and create buzz is largely responsible for the league's recent success. Bird's public annoyance with commentators like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe is probably due to a desire to prevent the WNBA from being seen as unduly reliant on Clark.
Regardless of whatever noise has been out there. So when you show that you're able to perform in the face of adversity, to me, that is the true testament to greatness.
The WNBA is currently having difficulty maintaining its presence in the competitive sports world without Caitlin Clark. The league's decision to reduce ticket prices during playoff games is a clear indication that they are aware of this problem, even if they aren't publicly acknowledging it. By doing so, they've been able to keep arenas fuller, but it is obvious that this strategy is a short-term rather than long-term solution. As the WNBA continues to promote the idea that it can succeed without Clark, the numbers clearly indicate otherwise.
I know when they got eliminated from the playoffs, the attendance dropped. Right. The ratings drop. If WNBA is more, it is, and I get it. Why aren't people watching?
Attendance and viewership have significantly decreased since Clark's absence, demonstrating her enormous contribution to the league's success. Going forward, the WNBA will need to figure out creative ways to keep fans interested and excited when Clark isn't in the spotlight. Relevant figures in the sport, such as Sheryl Swoopes and now possibly Sue Bird, have expressed concerns about the amount of attention Clark is receiving, despite the fact that her meteoric rise in popularity has only served to elevate the league as a whole. Rather than celebrating Clark's success and her ability to bring attention to women's basketball, some within the sport seem threatened by her rise, questioning whether one player should command such a high level of attention. This highlights a larger tension regarding striking a balance between individual stardom and the league's collective growth.
You had people fighting tooth and nail the entire season, not wanting it to be this way because other people weren't getting flowers, or she was getting too much attention, or she gets a special whistle, or I'm gonna check her off the ball here just because.
Ultimately, Caitlin Clark is doing nothing but good for the WNBA. She has greatly raised viewership, attracted new fans, and created buzz about women's basketball in ways the league has never seen before. If you liked it, please leave a like. Additionally, subscribe to Swish Alert to see when more videos appear.